Let's go.
Wednesday afternoons. Hoping you will.
And we're back.
And we're back.
Hello, bro.
Right.
Hello.
Yeah. So do you want to do the introduction for this one, please, bro?
Yes, well, welcome along, people, viewers and listeners. This is our podcast called The Football Referee, where we talk about all things related to the beautiful game. So this is today. I am Trevor Gear, and he calls me bruv.
And I am Emmy Hikins, and he calls me Cos. Ah, right. Yeah. Welcome.
And you've gone. You're back. You're back.
I'm back. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Right. So, Pep Guardiola, as usual. Let's start with that.
Yeah.
Pep Guardiola. I think there was a match yesterday, and he lost by 3-2. PSG, they played PSG. No, 4-2. 4 goals to 2. I think they played PSG. Do you think that the problem in his camp is still not well properly dealt with? Because it did look like they'd picked up, but they've lost another game now. So I'm just thinking, is that really?
Yeah. Have they dealt with it?
Yeah, have they dealt with it?
Yeah, it's a very difficult one because they still don't seem to have their proper defensive players yet. I mean, we know Rodri's out all season, I think, but we don't seem to see Nathan Ake. I think Ruben Dias was there the other day, wasn't he? But John Stones wasn't. Yeah. So I think that has been the problem, which hasn't been rectified. That is the replacement of those injured defenders. And that could be the whole problem of this season, that they've not had their usual excellent defence on which you build, with the goalkeeper and your defenders. That's your base, that's your foundation, and they've got brilliant midfielders and strikers and so on. But without that rock-like defence, it's undermined the whole season. Having said that, in the league, I don't know their exact position, but they're not very far off of fourth.
No.
Even they, which could mean they could yet get into the Champions League places. And if with only just over half of the season gone, it's not inconceivable that despite all their losses this season, and it's quite a number, they could still end up challenging for the title. I mean, it's possibly unlikely because, as you say, they lost again. But whether there are other factors, I mean, we now know that apparently I read the other day that his divorce, is split from his wife of many years, kind of happened in December when he was in the throes of signing a new contract. And the impression given was that she didn't want him to, because I think she was living really in Spain, dealing with their interests and family there. And I guess she would have wanted him to come back and to finish at Man City, where he's been for a good few years. I mean, he went there, I would imagine, a year or two after Klopp went to Liverpool in 2015. So he's been there a long time, and I for one, am pleased he signed another, I believe, 2-year contract. But there is that. He went through a stage, didn't he, where they noticed some scratches on his head and on his hand or something like that. And maybe he went through a terrible time. And if he took his eye almost literally off the ball with his team, that could have had a dramatic impact, because he's like a conductor of an orchestra. Some people say, well, does it make any difference? But actually, a good conductor of an orchestra does make a difference. Although the players aren't constantly eyeballing him, they see him in their peripheral vision, and he brings it all together at the key moments and so on. And if you suddenly didn't have that, although an orchestra could still make a reasonable fist of producing the music, it wouldn't be of the same quality without that orchestra, without that conductor. And I think Pep is like a brilliant maestro type conductor, and if he's not on form, if there's something affecting him, giving his all to the job, it may just affect the team. Because really, having gone 4 seasons winning the Premier League, 4 consecutive seasons, and everybody kind of assumed it would be a 5th, which is now, so we say, unlikely. It was a dramatic fall from grace, a dramatic fall from their brilliance. And it, as you say, it has started to reappear, to be fair to them. I think it did at the weekend. And then they seem to think, they're coming out of this, and then they go and lose again. But then the Champions League, PSG, they're no mugs. So maybe that's not necessarily part of what's happened to Man City. They are going to lose the occasional game to great opposition. But yeah, I think perhaps the defence is a factor in this, and I also think Pep's domestic situation, and I know from personal experience, as I've said before, that if you're going through a divorce, particularly if it's not particularly amicable, then it affects your whole life for a period of time, and it will impact in very negative ways, and it takes a while to come out of that. Now, that may or may not be relevant to Pep, but I do know that a split after a long marriage plays havoc with your, should we say, your mental health and everything about your life. It really does play havoc. Not a thing I recommend for anybody. So I would be surprised if that wasn't also part of what was going on there. He wasn't giving his whole self to the job because he couldn't. With other factors in his life, and family, let's face it, is pretty much the most important thing in our lives. So, yeah, I have a lot of empathy for him in going through what he obviously is.
Yeah, I think you might have a really good point there. Because I was just thinking about other players that have that sort of, distractions in their life as well. And somebody that came to mind, actually 2 players came to mind. One of them is Kyle Walker. He's out that thing. And then Rashford. Actually, Rashford isn't married, but from what I read, his girlfriend is chose to go to like a what's that program with it, Love Island reunion or something like that, and I think she, that's caused a lot of
Soft family and the ladies, Dr. Gladys and Phantom and Rose. We all have a lovely show every weekday, so join us for a lovely show.
Say hello to Phantom.